Hey, well, I really like Manjaro. It's I've been using it now for about a month and a half or so. Just unbelievably a bitchin' program or a operating system. I guess it falls under the Arch um, Linux. You know, I have the XFC um, version of it. That's the GUI stuff or the GUI, and it works just great. To me, it's better than Windows or Mac. Now I only made it to Windows 7. I stopped there, and I did get into Ubuntu for a few years, 4 or 5 years, and I made a mess of it, and I didn't necessarily give it up, but I figured, well, I'm gonna go ahead and put Windows back on here, and I put Windows 10 back on there, and I had nothing but problems with it, and then it just took a giant. So I said, to heck with it. So then the plague started. So I really haven't done much of anything about that for a while. So I decided to come get back into things. I going to rebuild. I'm rebuilding one of the computers in my studio, and I wanted to go ahead and wanted to figure out a really good operating system. So I started looking through Linux. Ubuntu was okay, but I had the Ubuntu Studio, and I bit off more than I could chew, and that was a long time ago. I didn't really pay enough attention. So now my goal is to build this other workstation, basically, and everything on it's going to be, a Linux. I'll probably put Ardor on there, and I might go ahead and turn that into my broadcasting studio. But so far, this little notebook, it's an old Latitude, 8 gigs of RAM and a i7 CPU. It's only a dual core, but yeah, that's nice. And then I have my little zoom camera, and this all just works good. So I don't know. I can take this wherever I want. I think I'll always just keep it for remote if I go on vacation, whatever. So the only thing I really wanted to talk about was the if you're transitioning from Windows to or Mac or even Chrome for that matter, and you want to find something, like Linux. I mean, it doesn't cost really anything. You can just download it if you want, if you know how. But certainly most of the computer guys, or you might have to find a computer guy that's into Linux. Where I live up here in the panhandle of Florida, I found a Linux guy. And anyway, he's all. I talked to him about stuff, and he's helped me out. But Manjaro is very user friendly. I would think anybody that's coming from, the normal operating systems that everybody's used to, Windows and Mac. This is such an easy transition because it's almost better. The Windows, in my estimation, are almost better. I still think you should learn, to operate in the terminal. Otherwise, Linux isn't fulfilling, its full potential to you, or it's not revealing its full potential to you, if that makes any sense. Once you get into it a little bit, you start realizing, wow, this is an instrument that can, you can design yourself. 100%. That's really the freedom part of it, is that you end up can totally design this thing yourself. I mean, I was talking about the XFC, well, I could come in here even after the fact, even though I've actually loaded it all and everything. I could totally get rid of that and put in a KDE or whatever one of the other ones are. I don't know. I don't really care. I'm not into the as much as I do like the looks of it. I really want it to, there's an end goal for me. I just want a reliable operating system that I can actually do the work on and figure out. So that's what that's my goal here. And I do just like it. I gotta say, when I first started going into the terminal, switch over to the terminal, and you'll notice when my terminal, I just switched it over to full screen. I made the lettering as big as I could because I'm getting pretty old. I don't want to squint around and all that. It makes it really nice and easy, to read, because there's so much, just the manual in this thing, you could go on for a week just reading everything, if you wanted to. So anyway, I tried to load my first attempt at using Pac-Man, which is the protocol for loading, for getting programs and loading them on the system, and I failed miserably. So I tried, but I just couldn't figure it out, and I got intimidated because there were some other packages they told me I should download first before I download that one, and I was worried that I was going to end up doing the wrong thing again, like how I screwed things up on Ubuntu not that long ago. So, and I wondered, it was this program here, OSB or OBS, which I'm running right now to make this video. So I said, well, okay. So I went back and I went into the GUI, the GUI part of it, and they have a place to actually, this is the one that's in the front, the greeting section of Manjaro when you turn on, when it finally boots up. You can go into this one. Now you can go into the one that's on the computer, which is a little better because it actually throws in all the other repositories, like the AUR, which is the art user repository, and then there's a couple more, and I can't remember exactly what they name. I don't know if one was a GitHub or I don't know, but virtually there's just thousands of these little programs, like disk usage analyzer on here. I mean, if you had to have a GUI to analyze your disk usage, I guess you would download that. But now that I know how to manipulate things on the, in the text editor, why would I need that? I mean, I can figure out what's going on in my disk usage, no problem, in the text editor. I've gone all over the place, I've checked out this whole machine, the battery. I don't know it yet all off the top of my head. I couldn't just go in cold and start typing and get that information. I have to stop. I have to go read, instruction manual or something, wherever I found it. I have a little notebook that I write stuff down in. I'm learning it. So it's like I'm going to school. I can now, I'm proficient enough in the terminal to, pretty much manipulate all the files in the home folder. I can move things. I can remove things. I can copy things, and I can change the directories. And I figured out, the hard way that, if you want to manipulate these little files, you've got to be in the directory that those files are in, or it goes, well, there's nothing like that here where you are. So, just the little things. Anyway, it's really user friendly. There's no reason to be afraid of this, because this thing is actually user friendly. I think this is and there's a whole bunch of different terminals. I think this one is the um, XFC 4. I think that's what its total name is, but it's just neat. It's color coded, so different kinds of files, directories are a different color, files are a different color, uh, audio files are a different color than picture files. And on it goes. If you make a mistake in it, it pretty much just comes back and goes, "Gee, dumbass, you didn't do it right." So it's like a journey. It's a pretty fun journey for me. I know I'm pretty old to be talking like doing this and getting involved in this, but I'm having a ball. I love this, and I think that nobody should be afraid of Linux. And the only other thing I really want to say is that I've listened to several. I've looked at a lot of people in their videos about Linux, and Manjaro and Ubuntu and Mint is another big one, and people swear by other ones. There's so many. I'm not going to sit here and try to name them all, a bunch of things. But I've had people run down. Listen to them run things down, like, oh, my distro's better than your distro, kind of thing, almost. Or one guy was ragging on there's an Office file called Only Office. Don't know really where it came from, but he was mad about it because it was installed by Manjaro, and he didn't really ask for it. Well, that's odd, because I know that you can just, if you're that good at Manjaro, there's a version of Manjaro that I think is called Architect or something like that. That's almost comes like Arch or almost basically blank, or not blank, but there's a you have to use the terminal in order to really do anything or get anywhere. So I didn't buy that argument. And I looked inside of this Only Office. I don't care anymore, because I'm retired. I don't really have to. I do write. I still write a lot of poetry, and I write a lot of song words, and so I write quite a bit. And I have gone into this Only Office. It's just as good as any of them. Apache, or the one that's just called Open Office, and there's Libra is a whole nother suite and they're all comparable to Word and Office, in Windows. Really comparable. In some ways they're better, because for a guy like me, it's just simpler. And not really simpler. It has everything. You got to learn it, like you got to learn everything. But very similar common threads, run through these Office programs, and then give it to Windows. They designed something like that in the first place. So, in any case, Manjaro is really cool. It's easy to use. People that want to switch over from Windows and Mac should not be afraid. They should just do it. And I'm talking to like older people or middle-aged people. If you're tired of the hassles of Windows and expensive going to get repairs done on it all the time, and people hacking it and all that kind of crap. Not to mention the Windows and Google and all that crap just never leave you alone. You're constantly being bombarded with all these advertisements and just crap. And in Manjaro and in Linux, I do not have any of that. You know, I am ad free. And I heard somebody ragging on DuckDuckGo isn't, they're gone too big. They're going you should go to do this other thing. I don't know. I go into DuckDuckGo. I've been into every part of it. I tell DuckDuckGo what I want it to do and where I want it to go, and it does it. And it doesn't come back with a bunch of garbage at me, And it does kind of log a history of where you've gone, but that's, one or two clicks and that's gone. And I'm sure I could program it to not do my history. I go in there and clear out my history every now and then. But, I like keeping it around for a few weeks because especially if I'm looking for something, on eBay or something like that, it's nice to have it. But anyway, I haven't had any problems. I have no complaints whatsoever about Manjaro and how well it works. It's absolutely great. And you can make it whatever you want to make out of it. That's why I don't understand these other people running around, with their little critiques. It might be a little more commercial than, say, just plain Arch Linux or one of those SUSE or one of the ones that are that way. But for somebody like me that is trying my best to learn it, and I never will. I'm too old. I'll never be a super expert at doing any of this stuff. But I will get to a point, I'm sure, where maybe I can even write a small little program, and I'm definitely going to build my new studio so that it is mine and mine alone, and really nobody else is going to be able to mess with it except for me. So I like that. Anyway, that's enough of this nonsense. Again, good to see everybody. Adios, mofos, and I'll catch y'all on the funny papers. Later.